All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the very first episode of the Orbs Archive podcast. Tonight we are joined by Aaron Glanfield. He is the man behind the plan on this, and we're going to talk to him about what it is he wants to achieve. Our goal tonight with this episode is the process, the conception from the beginning to where we're at now and possibly where we're going to head. So, Aaron, welcome.
Well, thank you so much, Keely. I'm really glad to be here, and this is a really exciting opportunity for me.
Absolutely. Aaron, you want to go ahead and give us an idea of who you are, what your background is, and sort of what got you into the idea of making a film?
Okay. Well, it's a great question. So let's see. Born and raised in Ontario, and I grew up just loving to be creative. So I used to write short stories. I used to draw comics and draw pictures and just spend a lot of time in my head just picturing all sorts of. So I still have like a binder full of stuff that I've drawn, that I've written from when I was a teenager. And it's great to be able to look back and kind of see some of the creative ideas I had back then. And some of them have actually led to what I have now. But, so growing up, I decided to go to university and felt like after, making movies with friends as a kid and growing up with a camera, running around and doing all sorts of fun stuff like that, I did always want to be a director. But this was before YouTube.
Yeah.
And so if I had known YouTube was like right around the corner, I might have continued the course. Who knows? But I decided I need to grow up. What a terrible thought. And so I decided to go to university. I did a Bachelor of Science degree. I did a couple years of business, then switched to Bachelor of Science, and started a family, and then moved on after that into the professional world. And then shortly after that, it never really left me, but the desire to be creative just kept coming back. I'm also a musician, so I play guitar and piano. And so I've just always been in that creative space my whole life and really enjoyed it. And then I just started thinking, but creatively again, I ran into somebody at work who had gone to Vancouver Film School.
Yeah.
And was talking to him. And it's really because probably that kind of ignited I was like, hey, let's try something. And so ever since then, I've just kind of been writing and creating. And I'd say I've probably been doing film now for like 8 years, where I've been putting out very short films or micro short films and some short films over the past several years now. And what has led to this project that I'm working on right now.
So I know there's a couple iterations of this. You've made a couple short films in this world.
That's right.
I've been involved with one, and we'll call it a half at this point because we're in the middle of making another one. Yeah, 1.5, and then there was one before me as well. Correct.
That's right.
So the inspiration behind this story, is this from something that you came up with when you were younger, or?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So back as a teenager, my older brother was really into like D&D and things like that. And he actually created his own D&D game, and he called it the Orbs.
Okay.
Yeah. So we played this game, and I was this like thief/assassin type character, right?
Right.
And I always loved that's always like my go-to kind of characters, like the Rangers, the Assassins, the Thieves. Those are the kind of stuff that I really like. There's like something really mysterious about them that I find quite appealing. And I think I just fell in love with my character.
That's cool.
And we did this like RPG, and we were playing through. We never actually finished. My brother actually went up serving a mission for my church, and so that kind of ended the series.
Oh no!
Yeah, so we never got to finish the story, and my character died like the last session we had, which was pretty sad. And I just always been like, I've always really liked. There was something about that story or that character that really just kind of drew me in. And so many, many years later, I started thinking about that again.
Yeah.
And started putting this story together, and it's totally different than what my brother had going. There's maybe some bits and pieces that I've kind of picked up, and so I've called the Orbs kind of out of respect for the inspiration for that. And I did call him because he's actually a big YouTuber. Like he's a pretty famous in the world that he's in of YouTube.
Oh, cool.
He does mini war game. It's called Mini War Gaming, and he does tabletop miniature Warhammer stuff like that.
Okay.
And so a lot of people actually know who he is. So out of respect for him, I just approached him. I said, hey, I've got this story in my mind, and I'd love to use like the orbs as kind of, that'd be the name. That'll probably be the only thing that really, there'll be some other similarities, but that'll be like the only thing that really speaks to what we did. And he said, yeah, I have no plans. Go for it. And I was like, great. So
that's really cool.
Yeah. So then my original idea was all fantasy medieval times, right? So it's going back. That was kind of the idea with the first film we did couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess it's been 3 years now. Crazy. And it's just a short, it was just like this opportunity came up. It's called the Rode RODE. So that's the company that makes a lot of like microphones and really good sound equipment. And they came up with this film festival competition. And I was like, okay, great. Here's a chance to put something really quick together. And so, but the film could only be 3 minutes or less. And if it was a second over, you'd risk being disqualified. So that's when I started writing this short 3-minute version of it and try to place it in a medieval type world. But it's so hard to get the setting right because we don't live in a medieval world, and we specifically don't live in a world where there's even medieval things around us.
Right.
So it's not like we live in England and there's a castle down the road.
We don't have many of those in southern Alberta. No.
So yeah. So I just kind of ran with it, and it was the first film that I met, or that Lindsay and I worked on, who has played in the last film and is in this one as well.
Yep.
And same with Michael Blatz. He's my cinematographer. He was the first one I worked with him on, and just built a really great relationship right away.
Mm-hmm.
And really proud of what we did for absolutely $0. But I was lucky enough where I sent it off to a guy named Ryan Connolly, and he runs a very famous YouTube channel, or popular YouTube channel, called Film Riot.
Okay.
He has like 3 million subscribers. And I just sent it to him on Twitter, and I just said, hey, I'd love to get you to take a look at this and just get your feedback.
Yeah.
And he was so gracious, and he responded, and he watched it. And he just said, really dug the bad guy or the villain in that film, but it's really distracting when your setting isn't quite bang on, when you're doing a timepiece.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, absolutely. It was totally fair enough. Like, absolutely. If I had $1 million budget, I mean, that would be a lot different, but I didn't. So then I was driving to Saskatchewan. So I had like a 7-hour drive to myself. And that's where a lot of the inspiration comes, is through just driving with nothing on, or just alone time in the shower or in the bathroom or whatever. And I started thinking about his feedback, and I was just like, well, how can I take the orbs and create some sort of film that would be able to land on a much smaller budget?
Mm-hmm.
And so then I started thinking about it more and more. And then I thought, what about a post-apocalyptic? And so, yeah. And I was like, that's a great idea, because Alberta's got lots of great resources for that. So the setting's great.
Yep.
You can do a lot of modern day clothing type things, and you can use military gear. And the beauty of it, so one reason I love fantasy, I mean, when you think of Lord of the Rings, I love the adventure aspect of it. Like Frodo going off and ending up in the bar, like in the pubs, and just going on this really great journey and meeting new people. And I really wanted something like that. I didn't want like a jet to be able to take you to your destination so easily. So
create a journey.
Yeah. So post-apocalypse seemed great because you can get rid of jets, because there's just no production, no manufacturing, no pumping of oil,
no jet fuel.
No, exactly. Right. And no cameras. So you can still have modern day stuff.
Yeah.
Guns and guns and clothing and buildings and things like that, and still get away with like everybody's watching you with your iPhone. So all of that kind of came together, and I was like, oh, I think that's going to be great. And so then started this, the idea of, and I kind of went back and forth with names. Like it was the Orbs, and then it was like the Orbs Chronicles, and now I've just kind of landed on the Orbs Archive. And I like that because it's supposed to be a story that goes on, but um, and we'll talk about this another time, but central to the story will be the search for these ancient archives that contain all sorts of information on the mysteries of magic and how to control them, basically, and the history of the world. So that's going to be part of the big feature idea when that comes.
Absolutely.
But right now, the idea right now that the one we're making right now. So this is the third attempt, and we actually got to fund some funding. Is to create this really short, contained, really well done piece. At least that's the goal, and I'm really happy with what we have so far that we can make that will actually turn some heads.
Yeah,
and be able to take it to a ton of film festivals. So
I know the last one that we did, which is The Guardian.
Yes, right.
Did do the film festival circuit. We won some awards with that. It's a beautiful film. If you want to go check it out on YouTube, guys, The Guardian, the Orbs Archive. You even get to see my mug in there for a few seconds. It's a beautiful film, and you really capture the post-apocalyptic feel of it, while integrating the fantasy into it as well.
Yeah, that's the idea. So it's that to maybe give anybody that's listening a little bit more information, not too much information because that'll be another episode. But basically, it takes place in a post-apocalyptic world, but there's going to be magics and like this understanding of why this world fell apart and how to kind of get it back together. And magic's going to be part of the reason it fell apart, and it's also they're hoping it to be the key to kind of bring it back together. So
perfect.
That's Radix's journey.
So you kind of touched on it a little bit already, but what's your overall goal here? So we've got 2.5 short films. Obviously, it's going to turn into 3 short films. We want to get the third one into film festivals. After it's gone to film festivals, what's the goal there, Aaron?
The one you were mentioning, The Guardian, I'm really proud of that work, especially since, again, it was done with no budget. Just any money came out of my pocket, and it wasn't a lot. Like, I had a lot of generous people. And the same with this one, we didn't have a big budget or anything, but a lot of generous people donating their time that really believed in that project. But we did get a little bit of funding, which was helpful for getting the proper equipment. So the goal with this is to create a really contained piece that was really interesting with a really interesting script. It's going to last about 7-8 minutes is kind of what I think it's going to land at when we're finally done with it. I'm also writing a full feature script. I'm about halfway done that right now. So take the short film as well as a full feature script, and then I plan on creating a lookbook. I've got some stuff in the process already for that, and package that up into a really interesting value proposition for producers, for investors, and hopefully be able to figure out a way to get funding for a full feature film. Yeah, that's right.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. Yeah.
What I've seen so far, and I will admit, Aaron likes to keep it pretty close to his chest. Doesn't like to share. Even the one we're working on right now, and I am the assistant director. He won't let me see the footage, guys. He will not let me see what we have yet. Him and the cinematographer are the only ones that have seen it.
I want to see your mind blown when we're in a theater together, and you're just like, "Whoa!"
Well, I can say if it's even remotely close to what The Guardians was, my mind was blown with that one, and I have even higher expectations with this one, and I'm sure you're gonna blow it out of the park.
Yeah, I'll be honest. Like what I've got done so far, and I've got quite a bit done. Probably done. I would say we're probably like 70% done, and I'm really, really happy with what I have. Like, way happier than I was with The Guardian, although I was, again, happy with that. It was a great piece. But this next one I'm super excited about.
That's awesome. Aaron, what kind of challenges have you run into in the process here in getting this off the ground? Obviously, with 2 previous films, and then we did a crowdfunding sort of campaign to get a little bit of a more budget for the current film that we're making. What are some of the complications that you've run into in this process?
Oh, they don't seem to stop. That way. It's just the reality of film. Something like we were filming those 2 days here in Okotoks, and everything was going really smooth, right? Yeah. And I just remember turning to Michael probably to you too. I don't remember, but just thinking, it's like everything's going really well. What is going to go wrong? and and sure enough, I started piecing everything together after we had paid the rental for the location we were using, and
Yeah.
piecing everything together and realizing we had missed like a whole page of our script. And that's a problem with like
Which is
no
funny because I
budget.
remember standing there, we're going through the script and
Yeah,
we're going, we got that, we got
we got
that, we
that.
got
I
that.
know.
We could have swore we had it all, but we had to come
Yeah.
back a couple months later, do another evening shoot of
Yeah, we
of
didn't miss
filming.
much,
No.
thankfully. And we had to kind of put our heads together how we're going to do all the lighting again because we paid a lot of money for the rental fees and everything. So that was challenging, right? So
Yeah.
being able to like it takes a lot again, people being very generous with their time because this is like a very like we're not talking like low budget, $100,000 budget. We're talking low budget, like a few
Like
thousand dollars.
micro budget.
Micro. We raised some money on Kickstarter, and a couple of friends were generous enough to donate some cash, and but everybody else donated their time. So it wasn't like I was like, "Hey, I'm paying you all, so come back for this free session to come back." Or I couldn't say that because I wasn't. Yeah, everybody was super great. So
Yeah.
but we managed to work out a time. It was like a month or a month and a half later
Mhm.
to come back and hit that last piece. I remember calling Michael and being like, I don't think we have everything. He's like, what are you talking about? And he came over and we just scoured all of the, like I had already done it, but he wanted to scour it too. So he scoured through all the footage and we sat down together and he's like, oh my goodness, how did we miss that?
And it's an integral moment.
Yeah.
It's an important moment. It's not something that we could just go, you know what? It's not really that big of a deal.
Right.
We'll fake it.
Yeah.
We couldn't. So we had to go back and we had to catch it again.
Yeah, so that was one issue. Another issue, I mean, challenge, I would say challenge. I don't know if it's an issue yet, but right now that we're facing is we're trying to find a location that's like an industrial, but it's got to be outside.
Mhm.
It's not just showing up and asking permission to use somebody's property. There's going to be
Right.
some military gear, right?
Yeah.
And fake guns, but they still look real. And
People still freak out when they see them running around
yeah,
town, though.
yeah.
So, yeah.
So just got to figure out, got to call the RCMP, got to call the town and just see what that looks like and kind of get that figured out. That's probably going to be the biggest challenge for the next piece.
So anybody out there listening, if we haven't filmed it yet and you have a kick butt industrial building that we can use, let us know. We'd love to use it.
Yeah, we're looking at doing that possibly July. I'd like to do it sooner if we can. But right now, based on people's schedules, important people's schedules, more important than me is that they're not going to be available until July. So
right.
But we'll see. We'll see how that goes. It may change. I'm hoping to do sooner, but if July's it, then that's what it's going to be. And I just, going back to the issue we had earlier with not getting all the footage. I just remember, Michael and I were just strategizing. I was like, hey, can we work with that? I was like, no. It's like, you know what? We're doing all this work. We might as well make it perfect and just schedule another day and make it happen. And it's going to suck that we have to do this extra day we weren't planning on, but in the end, we'll be grateful we did. So, and
absolutely.
And
I think what we ended up capturing that night, and again, I haven't seen it, based off of what I saw live, I'm pretty sure you got some incredible footage that night.
Yeah, it does. I love it. I think it looks beautiful. I love the cinematography. I think Michael's done a really great job with the lighting. I can't say that enough.
Yeah,
and all the other help. Like
we're really lucky to have Michael on board. The man is talented as can be.
Yeah.
So he brings his A game to the table, which is amazing.
Well, and you as the assistant director, really helping out with that and helping manage the script, and then Lindsay as the production manager. I mean, you guys are just a stellar. Like you three, really. And then I got to make another plug for Sarah. Makeup and Chantel.
Sarah does beautiful work.
Yeah, and Chantel was one of the actors.
Yeah,
Charisse.
Oh yes,
Charisse, and then the other guy that helped was with her. Doing the focus pulling. I mean, they just did a beautiful job. So couldn't have done it without them. No,
it's an incredible team. I'm glad to be part of it. I'm glad you've given me that level of trust to help bring this vision to life, because it's a heck of a lot of fun. And we've got a great cast, absolutely fantastic cast to work with. Our lead and our antagonist in it are both just they're fun to watch. They're
Yeah.
really fun to watch.
It all worked out really nice, and I can't wait to show people. It's hard for me actually not to, like you say, you haven't shown me anything. You're really keeping it tight to the chest. It's true, I am, but
Mhm.
you have no idea how hard it is not to show
I'm
you
telling
or
you,
others.
anytime you want to show me, just get it off your chest. I'm happy to take a look
Yeah,
at it.
it kills me. I was like, I got something really cool I want to show people, and I can't. But I'm also wanting to like make it a really cool surprise when it's done.
Absolutely. And sort of leads into the next question I wanted to ask. And we've kind of touched on some of them. The successes, like the big things that have just happened to fall into place for you along the way, to bring this all to life. What can you share there?
Yeah. So the way I visualized, I mean, I'll give a little bit away here, but the way I visualized the scene, the
Mhm.
majority of the scene was to be in like this old industrial warehouse type scene and or setting, and I was just trying to figure out where we would do it. And I've had some people suggest a couple things, and I went and checked them out, and they're just like, oh, it's just not working. And then I was talking to a friend of mine. He owns Concrete Experts, and he's just like, hey, I might know something that works. And he has a bay, or actually has a couple bays, in an industrial area and some office space there too.
Mhm.
And then his neighbor is a welder manufacturer, and there's this like giant hole in the wall between their two spaces because he had it rented out before to somebody that those two companies would work together, the manufacturing as well as another company next door. So
Right.
they created this big hole in the wall so they could easily transport things to each other, and it was perfect. I'm so glad they did that because it was exactly what I needed for the setting. And so he pointed it out to me and showed me, and I was like, "Oh, that looks great."
Hmm.
So I went and talked to the owner of the manufacturing, and told him that his neighbor Brian had said I should ask you, and he was very generous, and we were able to use a space for a very small fee. So I'm very grateful to him for that. Now I forget what your question was. I don't know
Just
why I was saying that.
no, that's it. It's
Successes, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
successes, the things that have fallen into place for you along the way to make this come to life.
yeah. I'd say that Michael doing a great job in the cinematography, because really one thing that I just love about the film that we have is just how the beautiful lighting and
Yeah.
the look of it all. Like it's I can't wait to show it off. That was another thing that really fell into place. As I've made more and more films, I've been able to get to know more and more talented people, which has really helped
For sure.
as well. And so just having all that has just been really, really nice. So yeah, I'd say that those are the main things so far anyway.
And an incredible assistant director. I just say,
Yes,
I
incredible
mean, he's
assistant
good. He's
director.
good. Let me tell you, folks. Uh,
Very good. Absolutely.
for the record, this is his first time being an
First
assistant
time,
director.
and I'm so impressed. So
Oh,
I'm
well,
so
thank you.
happy.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Aaron, anything else you want to share as far as sort of the background behind this or where we're looking at going in the future?
Yeah, really. I mean, we've got a budget set aside. I've got money from their Kickstarter that we ran that I've set
Yep.
aside, and I'm not willing to touch it. It's money for the film festival run. So, like, we're hoping to hit up quite a few film festivals. Like the last one we
Perfect.
did, I was self funding, so we only went to 3 film festivals. So we won an award and we're nominated for 2, and
That's
not
not bad for the
not
three film
not
festivals.
bad for 3 film festivals. But this one's going to be a bit, like, it's going to be a targeted campaign because again, really what I'm interested in is finding the right eyes to see it. And so there are some really interesting, like, online, I don't want to call them film festivals, they're actually blogs, but they're basically
Yeah.
film festivals where you can, but they're just kind of open,
Okay.
where you can submit your film, and then they guarantee they're going to watch it, and then they will give you feedback, and then you have the opportunity to go back and we use that feedback and then resubmit if you want. And if you can get on their sites, I mean, so many producers are watching those sites looking for the next big thing. So I mean, if I can get on one of those, that would be amazing. So that's kind of the goal, is to look for these kind of opportunities that will be able to give me a little bit more of the eyes that I need, right? Like
For
it's
sure.
it's fun to go to a film festival and get shown on the big screen and win an award. But I
Yeah.
wanted to. I'm a little bit. I'm more interested in who's watching versus some of the awards that you can win. So
Yeah, for sure. Well, I can say after being involved in the Guardian, I fell in love with this universe that you've created. I'm loving the characters. I still don't know the entire story, which is kind of it's fun for me because I'm still learning as we go along, and I'm really stoked to see where this all ends up and to be a part of it along this journey.
I'll just say this. Like, I think I'm the only one that kind of knows where it's going. And even then, it's still kind of a discovery for me, which is pretty fun. But
Mm,
I will say one of my biggest challenges, and I get really impatient. It's not writer's block. It's the fact that I can't type fast enough to pour out my thoughts onto the page. And so, like, I'll get started and I'll just be like, come on, I know how this scene is supposed to play out. Why can't I be there already? Like, and it's super frustrating that because, like, when you're using Final Draft Pro, you have to use all of their formatting and stuff.
right.
And that takes time to kind of go between each paragraph, and it just kind of slows me down, and I get a little frustrated. I'm just like, I just want to get it all out there, and so I'm excited to get it all out there. I'm worried that I'll never make it short enough, but we'll
It's
see.
a good problem to have, to be that fluid in your creativity. I like it. That's awesome. Aaron, if there's nothing else you want to add, we'll wrap this episode up and we'll come back in the next one and we'll dive a little bit deeper into the story and give the folks a little bit more of an idea of what this is all about.
Yeah, that's great. I'm looking forward to it.
Perfect. Well, everybody, thanks for joining us, and stick around for the next episode because we're going to dive a little bit deeper.